Not to record to the cloud. Hello, beautiful ladies. Thank you for joining me this evening. It's 8 p.m. here in the UK where I am. Yeah, if you just want to put in the chat, like, where you're from, where you're calling from, and just kind of say hi, it'd be just great to kind of get a sense of like, where people are coming from today. And then we'll get straight started with how to unlock the 5 deceptive dating traps. And I can promise you, this is gonna be, I promise to blow your mind. And you tell me at the end if I did. I think I will. So we'll see how that goes. But it's a fantastic piece of knowledge, which really will help you to understand how it comes that the kinds of guys you've been attracting are not the kind of guys that you wanted, and how it comes that, where are all of these cool guys hanging out? How come that, you're this amazing, conscious, wonderful woman and you're still single? And how can you find your soulmate? And we're really going to finish today off with making sure you have a 5-step roadmap that absolutely will show you, like, 5-step roadmap, like how to find your soulmate. And I promise you, it's going to be non-woo-woo. We're all conscious women, but ultimately, I believe in knowledge that works, and in something that if you apply it, it will make a noticeable difference to your life. That, I'm a little impatient, so it should make a measurable difference in your life pretty immediately. So that's how I roll. And yeah, I'm super excited to start sharing this with you. And you can choose to have your camera on or off. There will be space for your questions at the end. So we're going to be rolling for about an hour 15. Just kind of, based on how I go, I would say about an hour 15. And about the last kind of like 15, 20 minutes or so should be for questions. And those questions can be about anything that I talked about, but also anything that you have about men, relationships, dating, love, life. Lay it on me. Like, I'm not afraid of a challenge, so why not? Let's party. All right, this actually technically is a replay. It's not actually a replay, like I'm doing it live with you now, but this workshop was never really meant to happen. I did this webinar on Valentine's Day live, and then the tech gods were not with me, and the replay just got bombed. And so I had some people saying, hey, where's this replay? I really couldn't catch it. And some people asked these fantastic questions, and I was like, okay, so let's just do another one. So you're here, the tech gods sabotaged the first one a little bit, so they're making the most of it, and you got another chance to catch it live. Okay, so let's have a little look what I see in the chat. I don't see anything. So I know there's a few people that I've seen before, and I know we're coming from all around the world. Very nice. Okay, that's what we like to see. Very nice international crowd. Okay, so the way it's going to work is I'm going to start to share my screen, and I'm going to go into a screen presentation, which is going to be all beautiful, bright colors, and you're going to hear me speak. And if you have any questions, you can just drop them into the chat. My beautiful co-host is my partner, who will inform me of any questions that happen if I happen to get too absorbed in my material, which can happen. So he's there just to kind of make sure that I attend to anything that's up, but main part of the question is going to be at the end. Okay, anything before we get started? Are we ready to go rock and roll? You girls look like you rock and roll, so let's rock and roll. You can choose to have your camera on or off, and when you ask a question later on, you can, it's nice if you have your camera on, but if not, whatever makes you feel more comfortable. All right, let's start with sharing my screen. Okay, so here we go, stop broadcast. And yes, okay, that looks like I'm sharing my screen. Okay, can you see my screen? Simon, can we see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. I now just see my screen. Excellent. So how to unlock the 5 deceptive dating traps, how to stop settling for Mr. Wrong and attract your soulmate in 2021. That's what we're going to be talking about today. And welcome. This is going to be a 60-minute webinars, but plus Q&A at the end. So, book about an hour, 15 or so. If you have like lots of questions, I won't leave until all your questions are answered. And at the end of it, if you stay till the end, you know this already, this is often how it goes. If you stay till the end, you get a beautiful gift from me that will help you to accelerate your soulmate search. And we value this at £500 because we like to reward beautiful people who pay attention. Attention is such a precious commodity. So let's start. Why are we going to spend like an hour talking about these 5 deceptive dating traps? So what's so bad about these traps in the first place? So we're talking about compromise on the one hand, and most of us understand that some compromise is necessary in relationships. But that's not the kind of compromise I'm talking about. I'm not talking about you compromise that, you might have Thai food instead of Chinese. The kind of compromise we're talking about that these dating traps lead you to is normally that that you have to kind of compromise when you kind of get trapped in these traps. You start to settle for Mr. Wrong, and that means you are compromising what you really need to be happy in relationships, and you compromise who you are and yourself. And that then means that ultimately you compromise on the kind of relationship that you want and that you need to really be satisfied. And that is, it's what's problematic about this about the trap. You're also almost like magic, you're attracting the wrong guys when you're in these traps. And not only that, you're actually repelling the man that you want, the masculine, conscious, gorgeous guys that you want. You actually repelling them when you are ensnared in one of these dating traps. And with all of this together, it kind of sounds like happily ever after is canceled. But if you know me, you know I'm like a big romantic, and so that's not going to work for me. So let's say not so fast. So it's not your fault. All of this, it's not your fault. The ugly truth is that 90% of what you've been taught about men, women, and relationships is completely wrong, especially when it comes to attracting a high caliber man who can meet you. So I'm just going to go out there and just see. I think there's someone who's not muted because I can hear something in the background. Yes, let's mute everybody. Mute. Great. Okay. Go back into that. So actually, most of what you've been taught about men-women relationships is wrong, and it's not the few of us who are taught this. It's actually the whole conditioning that you've received as a woman is actually kind of almost designed to hypnotize you into settling for these wrong guys. Like the whole things that you've been taught as a woman typically tend to get you into those traps. And you will see that when we start to talk about each of those 5 traps and really see like how common those are. Okay, so what we'll cover in this hour and a bit. So we're going to cover all 5 traps that hypnotize you into being with Mr. Wrongs, because we don't want that. We're also going to cover the 5 antidotes that actually help you to unlock those traps, and that then they free your secret love superpower and allow you to then attract the Mr. Right that you want. Because actually in the core of each of those traps is a particular a wonderful quality that you have that can help you to attract a soulmate. But it's like until the trap has been unlocked, it's almost like that gift, that superpower of yours is working against you. You're also going to learn about a new way of dating that is fun, easy, effective, and authentic. And we're going to cover your personal pathway to happily ever after. Does that sound good? If so, then let's get straight in there. So let's get started. I mean, you may already know who I am because you may have been on my mailing list for a little while, or you may have come across me in the media. I'm Cassandra Delithia, aka Padma Deva, internationally renowned relationship expert, creators of the Kura Method. Kura Method stands for Co-Empowered, Ecstatic, Unlimited Romantic Relationships. I'm the creator of Tantric Surrogate Therapy, which is, if you've come across me in the media, that's most likely what I've been featured for, and the creator of Dating Like a Goddess, which is a process that teaches conscious women how to attract, select, and enjoyably date the soulmate-worthy men that they deserve. So why listen to me? So, I've been doing this for about 16 years, and that means helping men and women to create co-empowering ecstatic relationships. And I've been working with men and women and couples, one-to-one, quite intensely, helping them to understand themselves, each other, and how to really bring out the best in themselves and in their partners in relationships. And I've been named one of the top 5 most famous sex therapists of all times by Article City. My work has been featured in the BBC, Daily Mail, Evening Standard, Soho, Metro, many different places around the world. So I do know a little bit about what I'm talking about. But there's actually a better reason than all of those accolades of why you would listen to me. And it's because I get it, because I've been there. I've been stuck in each of those 5 deceptive dating traps, and I experienced what they're like, and I found some answers. Consider me like a pearl diver. Like, I kind of go deep into my own stuff and find a solution out of it, and then I come back with some of these pearls, with some of these nuggets of knowledge, those nuggets of wisdom, and I bring them back for you. And I come today bringing you especially 2 answers to 2 questions. First question is why love hasn't happened for you yet. Because if you're here, if you're on my list, you are like one of the good ones. You're a conscious woman who is interested in how to co-create co-empowering relationships. You are working on yourself. You've been on a personal development path for quite some time. You have a lot to offer. So how come that you're single if you don't really want to be? That's question 1. And question 2 is like, how can you ensure that love does happen for you? Like, how can you make sure it finds you? Preferably pronto, ASAP. So if you are a little bit impatient, you are in good company. I am very impatient. That's why I like to create things that work fast, just because I don't really like to wait that long for things. So story time, just a little bit about my own journey, because I'm always my first guinea pig when it comes to any of these things. Like I practice, I only teach what I know. And what I know is based on lots of studies. I mean, knowledge junkie, I have a lot of different qualifications, but most importantly, personal experience. Like, I share with you the things that I found have really made the biggest difference in my life. And that's where I come from. And, some people look at me and say, well, you've been teaching relationships for 16 years and, you're a tantra teacher and you're a psychotherapist and your background's in business and all of that. But actually, that's not where I started from. My original background is in business management consulting. And I always kind of say, with a little tongue-in-cheek kind of smile, I say that when I was younger, I used to be just a head, just a mind, disconnected from my emotions, disconnected from my sexuality, disconnected from, from all kind of aspects of self other than the mind. And, my mind was brilliant, but the rest was really not online. And when you are in that kind of place, you kind of understand what's happening to you, but it's very difficult to navigate life in terms of happiness and what makes you happy, because happiness is an emotion. You're disconnected from your emotions. Finding what works for you in life is a little bit tricky. So, and based on that, I kind of had a string of Mr. Wrong relationships. And Mr. Wrong here does not mean that these are bad guys. But Mr. Wrong can just simply mean that they are not right for you. And it could be that they're good guys, but they just don't have what you need. So, and it was kind of like relationships was something that I saw. I always had this idea, I was listening, I was reading poetry and I was listening to love songs. And I kind of had a sense of that's what love was meant to feel like. But I didn't really ever see that kind of relationship that I believed was out there. I didn't really see it reflected in my parents' marriage or really in any of the relationships I saw around me. There was this huge disconnect from what I saw in the relationships of the people I knew and what I thought it really could be. And my first glimpse of, so I was looking for something, but I didn't really quite know where to start with that. And my little awakening movie, in a very cheesy way, happened in a Hollywood movie when I was 20. Age 20, I was in the US. I was doing a master's in business, and I was watching this movie called Sweet November. And what really struck me in that movie was it introduced the concept of relationship, conscious, intentional relationship as a vehicle for healing and for transformation, and that you could enter it consciously in that spirit and with that intention. And that was just like something in this idea resonated with me so deeply, that I thought, wow, now that's cool. And it's a movie where there is a bohemian woman who kind of takes on, so to speak, a kind of a fairly disconnected workaholic who is emotionally slightly dead, and she takes him on for 30 days to, for a month, to live with her and to actually learn about love. And he learns how to love, he learns how to feel, and he learns how to connect with her and with himself and with life through that. And at the time, I really identified with the character of the workaholic, disconnected guy. Like, that's where I was headed. And I thought, wow, now that would be a truly interesting, cool thing to do with your life. Like, I was headed for being a management consultant and helping people to improve their profit margins. And that's great. And I was good at it. And it's fun. And there was travel, it was well paid. But ultimately, it didn't really talk to my soul. It really didn't really feed my soul. But this idea of relationship as a healing vehicle, that really did it. So nothing really happened for 2 or 3 years until I, abandoned my management career. I went to the UK and I saw a little ad in a newspaper. And that ad said, are you a woman who wants to use her femininity and her sexuality to help others heal? And it hit me like this lightning strike, like, wow, this is just like the movie. And I was terrified because I definitely didn't have all the answers or very many answers. I was still pretty disconnected. I hadn't really had a super functional relationship up to this point. And I just thought, however, I just knew in my gut, that's what you need to do. You need to go there and do that, even just to kind of find those answers for yourself. And that was the beginning of my journey as a surrogate. And that's been going on for 16 years, where literally it's like I teach people how to have relationships, and I am engaging in relationships with this intent of healing. And yeah, it's been a crazy ride. And I've learned so much about men, life, relationships, and dating. And it's just been absolute privilege. And it's completely transformed me and transformed what's possible for me in relationships. So where I got to then is that I actually really knew how to bring out the best in people in a relationship. But then I understood that the one piece that was missing for me was actually the dating piece, like was the casting, if you want, is the finding the right person, the person that is appropriate for you, the person that's actually the right person to invest in. Because I was so good at relationships that I could make a relationship work that was never meant to work. But it's kind of, that sounds like a good quality, but it actually was a trap. So then I came up with this process of 30 dates in 30 days. And I discovered that dating actually can be a personal development process. I kind of tongue-in-cheek call it enlightenment one date at a time. And that then, I did that process myself 3 years ago, and that's brought me to today. And this process, this dating like a goddess process that, where this whole body of knowledge that I'm going to be sharing with you today is coming from. And that's, how do you actually become strategic and conscious in your dating so that you start to really attract the right people? You can distinguish between the Mr. Rights and Mr. Wrongs. And it's like, really, what is the blueprint to actually get to attracting your soulmate and kind of figure that whole piece out? And so today I beta tested my own program over the last 6 months in a pandemic, living in a small town, just having hit 40, you know, all of the reasons that people say, oh, it could never happen for me. And I beta tested my own program, and I am in a relationship with a man I believe is my soulmate. And I have to say, if it's possible for me, I'm maybe the pickiest person I know. It's possible for me, it's possible for each and every one of you. That is my belief, and that's my promise to you. Okay, story time over. Let's dive into the traps. And I call it trap removal time. And we're going to do this part a little bit like a game show. And the way that works is that I'm going to show you a little slide which has 3 pictures on it. And it's just designed to help you get a sense of what is the name of that trap. Okay, so just kind of like put it in the chat, and I will ask my beautiful co-host assistant just to tell me what you're saying, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so guess the trap. This is trap number 1, 3 images. What does that sound like or look like? Simon, I do need you to tell me though. Desert, very good. Thank you. You too. Desert, very good. Yes. The trap is called Scarcity. And this first trap, the Scarcity Trap, is especially tricky. Or it's certainly the one that had me in its clutches for the longest time. And this trap is basically when you believe there are like so few good men out there, or, you know, all the good guys are already taken, you know, maybe there's just not enough good guys out there. Maybe some of your friends have told you that your standards are too high. Maybe you feel like you're a little bit picky, and maybe you just need to start to compromise on what you want. Maybe you think like you're in a relationship, or you've been in some relationships that weren't really great. They didn't really meet what you had in mind, but you think, well, what if this is as good as it gets? You know, maybe I shouldn't be greedy. So Scarcity Trap is when you think that, you know, the kind of man you want isn't out there, or isn't out there plentifully. That kind of tends to, can you see how that can start to hypnotize us into settling for Mr. Wrong? Because we think Mr. Right isn't really out there, then I guess we might as well, if we don't want to be alone forever, we might as well settle. So that's trap number 1. And then we go to, what is the antidote for this? The antidote for this trap is dating abundantly. So, and the question here that I have for you is, what if you were certain there are plenty of high quality options out there and available for you? And what if you knew where to find them? Like, that would change the game, wouldn't it? And it's a really interesting piece. It's like, you know, what if you were not just, you didn't think, but you were certain that there actually were plenty of options out there. And dating abundantly, often what that needs is a different dating strategy. So let's just ask you a question. And again, it's like, I'm gonna get my beautiful communicator to kind of talk to me about this and convey your answers to me. What do you think? How many out of 100 men that you meet, how many percentage-wise do you think would even be potential contenders? Like even people who potentially have what you need to be your, you know, to be even like a contender for being a soulmate. People who like maybe match you in terms of values, people who maybe match you in terms of, you know, who you're attracted to. Like how many people do you think that would be? 10%. Wow. That is high. I like that. We have some optimists in the group today. 2%, that's more what I think. But I love that you think 10%. That's, you know, great. So, so therefore, suddenly then dating becomes a little bit of a numbers game. And it means that, let's say you have 100 guys, and let's go, you know, let's say we go even with 10%, which I think is optimistic. But let's say, you know, out of 100 guys you meet, there's only going to be 10 that are even contenders. That doesn't mean they're going to be 10 soulmates. It just means these are 10 contenders who actually might have what you need, and they might have what it takes for you to even like kind of consider them. Like there are actual maybes that are high potential. So most of us tend to only date one or two people at a time, or look at one or two people at a time. And so that means if you meet one person, let's say in a coffee shop, I mean, not nowadays, but let's say you were to meet one person in a coffee shop, then the chances are 90% that this person is not going to be a contender. And so it's like the way that most of us are dating is we just don't get in front of enough people to get to the people who are actually contenders. And it's a different kind of dating strategy. It's like we need to have almost like a funnel, if you want, where you have a certain number of people you get to meet, and you have a very clear strategy of how to early on distinguish between who is a contender, like who is a potential Mr. Right, and who's a Mr. Wrong for you. And if you can know that really early on, then suddenly you only need to start investing emotionally and your time into the people who already are the contenders. And that's where one of my promises comes from, that this way of dating actually reduces 90% of the heartache of bad dating, because it just like eliminates anyone who is not suitable for you really early on, but you're sifting through that if you want to end up with the people who actually are, who actually have what you need. Okay. Does that make sense for you guys? Cool. So, and we get to trap number 2. Guess the trap. What do we think? So anyone who's ever heard a bedtime story or a certain fairy tale story, I have a feeling you know exactly what this trap is. Very good. Cinderella. Yes. Ding, ding, ding. Absolutely. Cinderella Trap. And this is like this, I call this also the self-sacrifice trap. And this is a trap where if only you love more, or you do more, or you give more, then everything will turn out all right. Like if you ask less for yourself, and if you give more, you'll be a very good girl, and good girls get their reward eventually. So if you self-sacrifice and you let go of your own needs, you will ultimately be rewarded with the knight in shining armor that will ride into your life, and he will just kind of pluck you out of your life, and he will just whisk you away to the castle of your dreams. That's what we're told, right? Now, I, a little bit tongue-in-cheek, have my own version of like what Cinderella's happily ever after actually would look like. And for me, this is how it would go. Cinderella, you know, after all the things she's been through, sits on the horse behind Prince Charming, and they're riding towards his castle into the sunset. And whilst they are riding towards his castle, he kind of says to her, "Hey, Cinderella, just a few things you should know. I mean, we have this really big castle, and we're kind of a little understaffed. So we don't have that much cleaning staff, but I know how good you are with your hands and how much you kind of like to kind of, you know, muck in. And so therefore, you know, I'm sure you won't mind helping out a little bit, will you, when we're a little understaffed? And, you know, my mother, you haven't really met her yet. You know, she can be quite challenging. You know, like she's pretty much sabotaged every single relationship I've ever been in, which is why I actually had to go outside of my own country to find my bride. But I know how good you are with like difficult women and circumstances. So I'm sure you'll kind of find a way to make that work. And yeah, I also have some sisters who are, you know, unmarried and kind of resentful about this. And they're pretty unpleasant to be around. So I've heard, I mean, they're very nice to me. But again, I just know from your experience, you're going to fit right in, right? So that, I think, is the reality version of Cinderella's happily ever after, because the truth is you don't earn great treatment to allowing others to treat you poorly. You tend to get what you accept. So if you accept table scraps, you will get table scraps. If you don't accept table scraps, then the kind of people who only have table scraps to give will not actually pass that bar. But the people who have more to give, once you say, no, I don't accept table scraps, they will actually offer you more. they will say, okay, so that was my first offer. So how about this? And then either that matches what you need to be happy and what you need to feel satisfied, or it doesn't. And so that is one of the great misconceptions. And I've already gone a little bit into the antidote here, which is giving without self-sacrifice. Like, what if you knew you were enough just as you are? And, you know, for the overgivers amongst us, what if you knew it was okay for you to need something from your partner to be at your best? What if it was okay for you to have needs? And what if that was beautiful, actually? And beyond this, giving without self-sacrifice also means that two things. It means that you are learning to give only the things that feed you back. So that's a truly giving in abundance kind of way of connecting. But also you're learning to receive generously, because you know how good it can feel to give to someone, and how lovely that is if you feel you're making a difference to someone else's life. So it's also nice to give your partner or your potential partner the gift of contributing to your life. Because in truth, you know, most high value men absolutely want to feel like they are contributing to your life. So if you cannot receive, actually, there's no space for a man who has something to give to come into your life. And therefore, if you don't know how to receive, often you tend to end up with men who need you, not with men who can give to you or who can meet you. Does that make sense to you guys? Okay, great. So guess the trap. So we are moving on to a mythological trap. A winged horse of legend. Does anyone know what this trap is? Pegasus! I knew I had a very brilliant crowd here today. Absolutely, that's the Pegasus Trap. One of my personal favorites because it's just so cute, and I made a special graphic for it just because it's so cute. So in the Pegasus problem, you see like the little glasses, the little heart-shaped glasses, which means we're not really seeing clearly here. And the problem with the Pegasus trap is potential is actually problematic. And potential is problematic for those of us who really see the best in people and see the potential in people. Potential is problematic because in our core, in our potential, we are all God or goddess. You know, there's every single thing is possible inside of us. And yet, you know, so if you use potential, like what someone could potentially be as your selection criteria for relationships, you've got no selection criteria, because potential, everybody has potential. The question, however, here is, how do I choose, you know, what is the difference between someone who has potential and someone who is already living that potential, someone who is already kind of actualizing that? And the real question with the Pegasus trap is, how do I turn a fish into a flying horse? And I made a little graphic for this. So, and this is like, you know what, all of you who identify with this trap, it's one of my favorite traps for myself as well. You know, just first of all, a shout out and a lot of love to you ladies, because to be honest, this is us with our magical belief that everything is possible, and that's gorgeous. However, it's this idea that what we're looking for in our partner, we're looking for a Pegasus. We're looking for a winged horse that we can fly into the sunset with. And we've been looking far and wide for this winged horse, and what we've been finding has been not that. So in our journeys, we come across a fish. Maybe that's like a kind of flamboyant, good-looking, well-dressed fish. Maybe it's a sexy bad boy fish who seems a little dangerous, or maybe it's just a cute, innocent little guppy fish. Doesn't matter. But we kind of see this fish and we look at this fish and we think, I wonder if I could maybe, if I work hard enough, if I could maybe turn this fish into this Pegasus that I want. I mean, after all it needs to do is grow 4 legs, you know, grow maybe 300-400 times in size, you know, learn to breathe above water, and grow some wings. I mean, it's nothing that a little bit of hope, you know, a little bit of dreaming, a little bit of love, a little bit of belief, and a little bit of wishing dust won't handle, right? Well, I don't think that's totally true. Because if you think like how long has it taken evolution for a fish to become anything, you know, even resembling a mammal like a horse, we're talking like millions of years. So if you are, you know, setting your eye on a particular person and you think, okay, this person who is like a fish, I want to turn this person into a flying horse. It's like you definitely have to relax the timeline. It might take you, you know, a while. It might take you, if you believe in reincarnation, it might take you a few hundred lifetimes. And success is not guaranteed. So that's the question. There's nothing wrong with a fish. Absolutely nothing wrong with a fish, but it is not a flying horse. Neither of them is better or worse, but it's be clear what you're looking for. And if you want a flying horse, you should at least start with a horse, not with a fish, because that's no matter how much you see the potential, that tends to trap you in relationships that aren't going anywhere. And the antidote for this is what I call reality-based potential. And this, when you start to be able to distinguish between potential and actualized potential, like, so the potential we all have and the potential that we actually are actualizing, are realizing through our everyday actions and behavior. Now that's where we then get super clear and we know who to invest in and who to avoid to save ourselves 90% of the pain of bad dating. Like, would that be cool if you knew who to invest in and who to avoid so that you could save yourself 90% of the pain of bad dating? Yeah, I would have absolutely raised my hand for this, you know, 10 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. So, okay. Now, next trap, this is trap number 4, guess the trap. What do you think, ladies? Time. Okay, very good. All right. Yes, it has something to do with time. The trap is the waiting trap. And this waiting trap has 2 aspects to it. So the first one is this idea, if only I give him more time. You know, I don't want to force anything. You know, this idea that if only I wait patiently, this person will change. And often, if you've dated men, they often will kind of like invite you to fall into this trap because you say, oh, this isn't working for me and I need this. And they say, sure, I'll take care of it. Or yes, I'll do it. Or yes, I'll change it. And then crickets, nothing happens. And then you might ask again, like a day later, a week later, a year later, depending on how patient you are. They say, of course, darling, I'll change it. And you feel that if only you give someone more time, that actually something will change. So that is the first variant of this trap, because the truth is that more time does not lead to change without action. And in my experience, once a man understands, or once a person understands what you need and how important that need is for you, and that you have some pain around this, if they don't take action that day, they will not take action at all.
No, exactly.
Yes, exactly right. It's great. And you can unmute yourself if you just want to comment something, because I can't see the chat so well. So if you just want to comment something, please feel free to do that. That's great. And that is the real trap here. And you know what? It's like, I so feel this because I've so been there. I've so been there, and I've watched and I've heard that, oh yes, it'll be different. Oh yes, I'm working on it. Oh yes, it'll change. And it doesn't. And I really realized that if once a man understands what you need, if he doesn't take action then and there, he won't. Because why would he? Like, you know, it's like either he takes action or he doesn't. And that's in him. That's what I mean with find a horse. You need to find a man who's actually able and willing to take action, because that's what creates the change, not more time. The other aspect of this waiting trap is the, oh, I don't want to push the river. Like, everything will happen at its own time. Like, I don't really want to force anything. But it's a bit like if you're looking for your perfect house, right? You don't expect that, some estate agent will knock on your door and say, hey, I mean, I know you haven't really asked me for like a house, and you're not on my database and you haven't called me, but I somehow looked at your house and I thought, I think there's someone here who needs this awesome house I've just found, and I just thought I'll offer it to you. It doesn't happen. We wouldn't expect this to happen when we're looking for a house, right? But shockingly, strangely, we often expect that exactly to be the case when it comes to dating. But it can happen. It can absolutely happen that you run into your perfect person in the supermarket. However, it's like if you are more passive, it means that you have no control over the time frame. It means the universe could bring him to you, like in a day, and a year, and a decade, in 30 years. You don't know, and you're not influencing this. What I'm trying to suggest here is that if you start to actually step into it and take a kind of action, you actually start to become more co-creative with it, that you actually can influence the timeline and you don't have to wait. And I call that antidote the instant soulmate. And that's like, what if you knew how to move towards your dream soulmate relationship right now with actions that are actually in your control? Because that for me was always the most frustrating bit. It's like, well, okay, so you're meant to wait. Like, if you look, you're not finding, and all of these things that people say to you. But then, like, what are you going to do? You feel like you're at the mercy of whatever it is. And I'm a great fan of saying, okay, what are the steps I can take so that I can actually impact that timeline? And I can make sure that this soulmate isn't just coming to me in 30 years, but is actually happening to me in 2021. And instant here means right now, not like pot noodles, just in case you're wondering. So it's not low quality, it's just right now. Okay, and the final trap. Let's guess this trap. Last trap for you, and let's see what you think. Chameleon. Very good. Excellent. Okay, so that is correct. Trap 5, the chameleon trap. So this is a really interesting one. Just like trap 2, the Cinderella trap is especially relevant for our overgiver friends, which I am one of. This one is especially relevant for our perfectionist overachiever friends, which, our community has a lot of overgivers and overachiever perfectionists. So this one is, if only I were more fill in the blanks or less fill in the blanks. Whether that's if only my boobs were bigger, or I weighed 10 pounds less, or I was smarter, or I was less smart, or I was younger, or I was older, or I was more this, I was more educated or less educated, or I lived in a big city, or I lived somewhere else, or I had a community, or I didn't have this upbringing I did. Like, if only I were more or less, whatever you want. And this whole idea here is, who do I need to be for you to love me? This whole idea that love is something you need to purchase by or deserve by being perfect in every way. And the seed of this is a really beautiful wanting to constantly improve yourself, but that together with this perfectionism, it creates a problem. I mean, that's a wonderful impetus to kind of help you to become a better version of you, but it becomes a problem when you believe you have to be perfect to be loved. That's when it becomes a problem. It could be quite vicious, like, especially if you identify with being a bit of an overachiever perfectionist. The inner critics of our perfectionists are vicious. And so nothing you do is ever good enough, because nothing is ever perfect. And if it's not perfect, it's no good. So that can be quite tricky one to be in. And it's a trap, for actually settling for Mr. Wrong, because all of your attention is on what is wrong with you. You're not actually looking out there. Like, if your relationship isn't satisfying you, or if your partner isn't loving you in the way you want, you're always looking for, what am I doing wrong? You're not looking outside enough to see, well, actually, is this partner, Does he even have what I need? You know, is this partner capable of being as loving as I need him to be? Like, where does this not working come from? And that often means that you don't actually see what this other person is doing or not. So the antidote to this is authentic self-love. What if you knew you are perfect just as you are whilst you're still growing? So that's a pretty powerful idea. And let me give you another point here as well. Like, it's actually not your perfection. Like, it's not your perfection that helps you to find the right partner. It's your imperfection that helps. That's one of your most powerful selection criteria. Your own imperfections or shortcomings, as I'm putting them in air quotes, which you can't see now. That's actually your most powerful selection criteria to help you find your right person. And why is that? It's because it's very easy to love someone who's perfect in every way, isn't it? You know, like, if you have no needs and you're perfect in every way, it doesn't really take, you know, how are you ever really going to know if this person really loves you for you? So it's the test. How you find your right soulmate person is if you have some flaws or imperfections, if you want. You are looking for someone who loves you, you know, with those flaws, who can love you as you are right now. And here's the thing, if they cannot love you as you are right now, they are not the right person. And if you choose to be with someone who cannot love you as you are, that is a recipe for an incredible amount of pain and an incredible, a difficult time with your own self-esteem. That's one of the single most destructive things you can do, is to love someone who cannot love you for who you are. That just is really, really tricky and really painful. So by actually allowing yourself to not yet be perfect, you know, you're perfect as you are and you're growing, it's with that you can actually start to find someone who can accept you as you are. And that's what they need to be able to even be a contender, right? So this is actually a really helpful piece for you to help you find the right person. Okay, so now with all of this, I have a little invitation for you. So if you're here, I already kind of say yes to the first one, but I'll ask you anyway. So are you a conscious, successful woman who is fed up of attracting lukewarm boys who need you rather than high caliber men who can meet you? And if so, your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to ditch compromise and heartache for good and learn to confidently date like a goddess, so that in 13 weeks or less, you are attracting, selecting, and enjoyably dating soulmate-worthy men who treat you like you deserve. So who thinks that's like something I say, yeah, I'd like that. I'd like to be attracting, selecting, and enjoyably dating soulmate-worthy men who treat me like I deserve. And I'm fed up of lukewarm boys, and I want to start attracting the high caliber man who can meet me. Do any takers for that? Yes. Okay, I hear it in the distance from the other room. Excellent. So if so, what I'd like to do with you, I'd like to share with you like a 5-step roadmap. I promised you a little 5-step roadmap of how you can get this. Like, how can you get yourself ready for this from where you are right now to getting yourself towards this attracting, selecting, and enjoyably dating soulmate-worthy men who treat you like you deserve. So that's what I'd like to share with you next. Is that okay? Awesome. So I call this the 5 steps to your soulmate. And I'm sharing this, and this is like a structure of a program I do, but I'm sharing this with you in a little bit more detail because these are the steps that you need to kind of go through in order to get yourself ready to start attracting different people. And you could choose to, you know, do that with support, which likely will allow you to avoid some of the pitfalls, make this faster, make this deeper, but you could also choose to kind of go down this path by yourself if that's what you prefer. So I'll just share about those different aspects of it. So step 1 is identify soulmate-worthy men. And what that means is you first need to know, like, first of all, who am I looking for? And this is where you start to see like, okay, how do I distinguish a Mr. Right from a Mr. Wrong? And a Mr. Right from Mr. Wrong and a Mr. Maybe. And it's by actually starting to be able to recognize who's wrong for you very early on, before you've even had to invest emotionally in anybody. That's how you save yourself a lot of the heartache. And this is where you can start to invest your energy into the kind of men who actually have what you need and what you're looking for. And so this is really, in this step, you really get a very clear roadmap of, what is a soulmate-worthy man? Like, how do I spot him? How do I spot him in his earliest communications? How do I spot him in like in the first week or two of even just like chatting to him? And before, how do I weed out the people who are not at the level where I want to play at this time? So that's step one. Step two is then you need to understand the dating game. And the dating game is, I call it a game, not because it's around manipulation and any of this. It's because I think it's important to make dating fun. Because if you hate dating, you will be wanting to settle and try to get away from having to date again very quickly. And you'll be therefore primed to try and settle for someone who's actually not your right person, just to stop having to go out there and date. But what if you could make dating fun and easy? And it can be fun and easy if you understand, how do men work, how do women work, and how does this whole dating game work? And so one of the things, like what we've talked about today, like these 5 deceptive dating traps, are actually an aspect of this module too. So this is one little piece that we've taken from today's training, comes actually out of understanding the dating game. And this is just showing you today, like how some of your conditioning has hypnotized you into settling for the wrong guys. And once you understand this and you unlock those dating traps, you are then free to choose the right people. So that's one aspect of it. Another thing you learn there is to like, how can you pass a men's secret high value woman test? And this is a really interesting, tricky one, because the kicker here is, the more conscious and giving and generous and loving of a woman you are, generally, the more likely you are to fail this test. Yes, you heard me right. So the best women tend to fail these tests. And best, I mean here in terms of the most loving, the women who have the most to give and the most to offer, they often fail the secret high value woman test. And this test is crucial because a man will test you to see, how much do I need to bring to you? Like, do I need to bring my A game, or do I need to bring table scraps? And it's that test he gives you. Most of us, if you're in one of these dating traps, you will fail these tests. And you will actually, even though you are a super high value woman, you will actually behave and be perceived as a woman who actually doesn't need an A game from a man. So, and once you understand, well, actually, how does a man, because we test for value very differently as women than men do. Women test very differently. We tend to test to see if we can trust the other person. And so what a lot of us, more, conscious and loving and giving women do, we try to give more, and we say, okay, I will just ask for less and I will just give more. And maybe once I prove to you that I'm a really good, loving woman who is going to be there for you, then you will step up for me. And it's a little bit like saying, okay, so let's say you're selling a house, you're selling a beautiful $1 million mansion, and you're selling it for like 10 pounds to someone. And 6 months later, you come back, you say, hey, by the way, this was a £1 million house. And I know you've bought it, we've changed contracts, etc. But I'd really like you to pay me another 500,000 pounds now. Like, it's just not going to happen. So it's actually what you accept early on in the dating game that kind of sets up the pattern relationships. And once you understand how you inspire a man to step up for you and bring his best to you, that's where your experience of dating, your experience of man, and your experience of relationship really, really drastically changes. And then we've got module 3, which is where you're overcoming the blocks to your happily ever after. We all have a past. We all have stuff, whether that's parents, past relationships. We have some negative beliefs around men, around ourselves, around our bodies, around relationships, around love, love hurts. Whatever we have, we do have some stuff that is blocking us. And this is also a module where we use cutting edge kind of techniques to help you clear some of those beliefs. And this is where we help you to undo some of these things, to really like spring clean this and make room for this. And this is also where we work on really upgrading the self-worth, self-love, and self-deservement, because that's when you work on your self-worth. This is your shortcut accelerator to completely up-leveling every aspect of your life. The fastest way to change any aspect of your life is to work on yourself, self-love, and your self-worth, because ultimately you can only allow yourself to have in your life what you feel you deserve. And so by raising your self-love and your self-worth, the kinds of opportunities and people who come to you will also be up-leveled. So that's what we deal with here. Module 4 then is where we look at amplifying attraction and magnetism. And this is where we, for some of us women, it's almost like attraction and being attractive and magnetic is almost not safe. And that's because when we've attracted the wrong people, or we didn't know how to distinguish the wrong people from the right people, when we still had some of these unconscious blocks and some of these negative conditioning pieces, when we didn't quite understand how to inspire a man to bring us his best, actually attracting more people wasn't that safe. But now that you've done all of this groundwork, now it's actually safe. Like, you now know how to distinguish between Mr. Right and Mr. Wrong. You now know how to, get the best out of the man in your life. You now have cleared some of these beliefs. Now it's okay to really step up that attraction and magnetism piece that you have, which is great. So in there, we look at the internal aspect, which means amplifying your feminine radiance and magnetism and working with your feminine polarity. But we're also looking at things like nutritional supplementation and some of these kind of ancient secrets of beautification that really help us to radiate with good health and high energy and feel great about ourselves. So that's the internal aspect. And there's also the external aspect, like how do we show up in the world? And so, like, one of the little bonuses that we offer is a little style personality workshop, because how you present yourself in the world, it's like how you look on the outside needs to be some reflection of who you are on the inside for you to start attracting the right people. And if there is like a disconnect, then actually, like, if how you look on the outside isn't reflected, isn't reflecting who you're on the inside, you will be attracting the wrong people. And so I kind of use this example. Let's say you're like a wholesome milk, but you kind of wrapped in a Coca-Cola can. Like, the kind of people that are going to be picking up the Coca-Cola can are not going to be the people who are going to be into milk. And so it's a little bit, it's a tongue-in-cheek little example, but it's about how can there be congruence, that you learn how to show on the outside, who you are on the inside. And then like drum roll, the last part of this 5 steps to your soulmate journey is to actually put dating like a goddess in action. So you've done all of these other processes, and now you actually have to go out there and date, and preferably date with some support, with a methodology that works, with some support, maybe some coaching, maybe someone who says, oh man, that was a bad date, but what did you learn from it? Someone to kind of hold your hand a little bit, but you just have to go out there and practice it, because practice makes perfect. And you remember, you need to kind of go on a few dates to start to really get the hang of it. And so this is the 5 steps to your soulmate, to finding your soulmate. So I've just talked through this. And, there's quite a few things there, but I've covered them now. So I just want to move on with that. So now the question is like, how much is this worth to you? Because like I said, I've kind of run you through these 5 steps and what it takes for you to kind of like do this. And, it's like, if you can do this by yourself, absolutely, then, go ahead and do that. Like I've had to kind of figure out how to do this by myself. But like, how much is it worth to you? Imagine you could eliminate confusion and overwhelm from your dating experience and from your experience of relationships with men. Imagine you could pass a man's secret high value woman test and get them to bring you their best every single day. Imagine you could avoid the 5 deceptive dating traps and never settle for a Mr. Wrong again. Imagine you could reduce heartache by 90% and 10x your joy. And imagine you could create your happily ever after. Like that's what this different way of dating, this different dating paradigm is designed to give you all of this. So the question is like, how much is this worth to you? So I'll answer to you like, how much was it worth to me? Like, how much did I invest to learn all of this? And for me, it's been 16 years of like, working as a surrogate, creating my own modality, being a tantra teacher, Gestalt and body psychotherapist, many, many, many healing and personal development frameworks. I'm a real knowledge junkie, and a lot of my own personal research through my own relationships. So this is heartache, heartbreak, sweat and tears, 25 years of my life and more than 300,000 pounds. That's what I spent to learn this shortcut and this methodology that actually works. So, but obviously, your question is just like, do I want to do this by myself? Because I think today hopefully has answered that there is an easier way to dating. There is a better, more effective, more efficient way to dating than maybe what you've been doing in the past. And there is a possibility for dating to be fun and effective and easy and dare I say, enjoyable. So the question is just like, would you like some help with this or not? And if you did want some help for this, then the 13-week program that I offer, which takes you through all of these 5 steps, is not going to be 300,000 pounds, which is what it cost me. It normally costs 2,997 pounds, but today this is only going to be 1997, and there is a 3-pay option available if that's what you would prefer. And that seems like that's quite a lot. But the question is like, if this works, like if this really works in helping you to find your soulmate and helping you to overcome this conditioning, it's worth it, right? It certainly would have been worth it for me. So, and I know you're not just putting your money on the line with this. If you're thinking about doing something like this, you're also putting your heart on the line. And I know that you've been hurt before because we all have been hurt before. And so I really want to make this easy for you. If there is in your heart, in your womb, if there is this resonance where you think, yeah, I absolutely now, this is the year for me. This is the year for me to change the way I'm dating. And yeah, maybe this lady who's been through all of these interesting, crazy things, who kind of gone through the fire and has kind of dived for those pearls, brought them back. Maybe this lady is who I would like to have in my corner as I'm going through this. If so, then this is how easy I can make it for you. My promise to you is if you commit to love, I commit to helping you find it. And what that means is that if you do the steps, if you there's a weekly coaching, a weekly kind of live coaching in the group is part of this. So you have on Wednesdays, you have a live call where you can come with any questions you have. You can get a laser coaching spot where you get coaching from me. If you show up to those, you get plenty of live trainings with all of the materials, taking you through all the 5 steps in a nice bite-sized way. So you're not going to get overwhelmed with all this knowledge. It's going to be nicely spaced out, giving you time to implement, giving you time to create action, to really helping you change that. If you're engaging with the program, if you're committing to the program and you're working the program, I commit to you. So I will continue to work with you to help you get to the place where you've met that mission, that invitation that I shared with you, where you are you've dated at least one soulmate worthy man, you've attracted, selected, and enjoyably dated at least one soulmate worthy man, I will work with you until that's the case. And why am I so sure that I can do that? Because when I shared this with people before, they said, that's a pretty interesting guarantee. And I said, well, originally I was going to offer people a money back guarantee, but lots of people have said to me, oh, actually, I don't think we want our money back. I think we just want this guy. I'm like, okay, so I could maybe do that. And it's because I went through this process, and I found my person, and I supported people to go through this process. And I know that when you start to change the way you show up in the world with your dating, once you start to follow everything I shared with you today, I think makes perfect sense. And you can see how just by being in these traps, like, you've actually been making choices that aren't in alignment with what you want. And this is like, this whole process is jam-packed with these aha moments. It's literally like, you will just realize that the whole way that you've learned to date has just been wrong. And so just by changing that, by giving you that additional support, by giving you the coaching, being in your corner, giving you knowledge that works, actually, I believe that, yeah, I can help you find a person, find a soulmate worthy person, and help you to know how to spot them and how to distinguish them from Mr. Wrongs. But, I want to kind of, make my life easier there. So I'm including some bonuses for you as well that really will help me to deliver on this. I want to commit to you finding love and starting to find soulmate worthy men who actually are contenders. And so I'm including some bonuses for you. There's the virtual dating mastery, because we are still in a pandemic. We still can't be meeting. Everything seems to be going online, and it's a whole separate class that I'm including for you, normally at $997, from how do you write your correct dating profile, what should your profile picture be like, what kind of portals should I be looking at, how do I sift through the masses and masses of profiles, like how do I spot a soulmate worthy man early on, how do I navigate this, like everything you could need, you're going to get that included in that virtual dating mastery bonus. You're also going to get a really cool little bonus, which is the attraction secrets of legendary queens. This is like comes from the more African tradition. This is like some of the secrets and beauty rituals and things that actually, like, people like Queen Cleopatra or Queen Esther have used to maximize their attraction. And there's going to be a style personality class as well. We talked about the congruence between who you are and who you're showing yourself to be. Oh, hello? So, and then we also have a 2 months bronze level membership in a matchmaking. Simon, could you mute whoever is unmuted, please? Thank you. We also have another bonus here. So this is some extra bonuses that you get. And this is the 2 months bronze level membership in a matchmaking company, because you asked me, okay, where am I going to find these people? And I said, well, I'm actually going to create a matchmaking agency. So this is something I'm creating that introduces men and women to each other that have actually been through a training like this, who've actually been taught how to show up in relationships, how to bring out the best in themselves and each other, and how to create co-empowering, ecstatic, unlimited romantic relationships. And so you get, after you've completed the program, this is one of your completion bonuses. You actually get 2 months free, and we waive your joining fee with that as well. So we introduce you to some of those high quality men who actually have been trained by me. So shortcutting your personal journey in this. I'm also including a special bonus close to my heart, which is a 30 dates in 30 days program, which is your overachiever option. It's optional, but this is if you're impatient and you literally want to, shortcut your process of personal development from years to months or weeks, then doing 30 dates in 30 days is absolutely an option. And even if you don't choose to do that, you still get the level of support included that's part of that program. And that's you actually, when you were dating for the last 30 days of the program, you will get 3 times a week coaching rather than the once a week coaching. You actually get the option to get 3 times a week group coaching just to really support you wherever you're at. You also got access to a Facebook group where you can reach out at any time, and that's what happens. And the real perk for this particular thing, like this is the beta testing process, and this is the small group that you get access to here. This is a very small, intimate group. Like I only have 10 spots in this group, and 5 of them are already gone. So only, some people are like thinking about it, but it's like I've got like 10 spots in this group. So you actually get a level of access to me, which is a priceless, but normally it's more like what you would get in a mastermind. And those kind of things start at £7,000 plus. So you're kind of getting an extra value just for the beta program of like over £8,000. So whole thing of like more than £10,000 worth of bonuses, if that's working for you. And people say to me, well, I said, but it's Valentine's Day. This is a slide from this should have been the replay today, if you remember. So this is the slide still from Valentine's Day. So we have all of this. Normally all those bonuses, normal program price. So we're talking about £13,000 worth of things, but it's only $19.97 full pay, or 3 payments of $749, if that's what you would like. So do you have any questions for me? Questions about the process or questions about anything? I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Here I am. Hello, here I am, back with you ladies. So do we have any questions? Let's have a little look at the chat, shall we? Pegasus. Go on then. Excellent. Excellent. I'm just kind of having a little look at the chats. Awesome. All right. So any questions that you have about, about the process, about the bonuses, about anything related to life, love, dating, men? First of all, just let me hear a few comments, like how, did you see yourself in some of those dating traps? Yeah, Maura, go ahead.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi. I guess I can put my hand down. So thank you for sharing that. I definitely saw myself in the dating traps. I blame Disney. I am Cinderella, programmed from a very early age. So thanks for bringing that up. It really stung, but I think it's important.
I know.
My question, I guess, I also saw myself in the Chameleon trap. I definitely have in the past, I think I've gotten better, but tried to fit something that wasn't me, and it always attracted the wrong person. I have a question. I'm just kind of curious. What do you talk about when you do one-on-one coaching with you? Like what kinds of, I'm a little bit curious of what does it look like to be coached by you?
What does it look like to be coached by me? Oh, that's interesting. I mean, so that's why if people come with a question, normally you get a little bit of a chance to get a sense of, okay, well, I've had this issue for so long. Then it works with, wherever you are at this time. So the beauty is I can draw on so many different things, like whether that's my own experience, like really having heard the most vulnerable aspects of men for 16 years, the things they've never shared with anyone. Like I'm a bit of a man whisperer, if you want. Like I really understand how these fellas think, but I also understand how women think. I'm a woman. I've been working with women for years and years. So whether it's a reframing, a lot of it is actually about undoing some of the negative conditioning and some of the false knowledge that you've been given about how to date successfully and how to be a good partner and what men want. Like a lot of the stuff that's out there is simply wrong. So in the whole process and the whole program, what you do get is you get a lot of knowledge that actually works. And it kind of good knowledge you recognize by, you hear it and you think, oh yeah, I hadn't thought of it like this, but it makes perfect sense. That's generally you get all these aha moments where you think, oh yeah, that's exactly how I think it's it, you know, that makes so much sense. It's like you just kind of get that. And then sometimes, however, it makes perfect sense to you, but you don't quite know how to implement it. Like it makes perfect sense, but you still can't do it. Right? You know, that happens to all of us. And if that happens, then you come and you sit with me on a laser coaching spot, and it's like we're working on this together. Whether that means we need to make a mindset shift, we need to clear a belief, we need to really dig a little bit deeper in what's really at the root of it for you. Maybe do some reframing, whatever it is, to help you take that next step. Because it could be that, you know, so let's say with a Disney piece, for example, if you understand that, you know, this doesn't actually work for you, but you're still holding on to it in some way, then there's often like an underlying kind of payoff that it's like, yeah, but you know, what if I let go of this? Like I've been investing so much time being like the perfect good girl who doesn't ask for anything. So I really have earned my reward. Now, if I let go of this, if I know I don't have to do that, it was all in vain. It's really sad. You then have to really grieve for like, oh my God, like I've just like suffered and like not had what I wanted for so long. And it's like it was all for nothing. And not only was it for nothing, it's actually kept the man I wanted away from me. Whoa, you know, like that's like so freaking tough, right? And you sometimes just need someone who's been there to look you in the eye and say, yeah, it sucks badly, doesn't it? And the good news is it's actually okay for you to have what you need, and it's actually okay for you to have what you want, and it's possible, and you deserve it, and you've already deserved it. So you can just have it now. Do you know what I mean? So sometimes it's like it's you have to like have someone to handhold you a little bit through the grief, and then you get to the other side. You see, oh, there's a party on the other side of this tunnel. Does that
Okay.
make sense?
Yeah, you're making sense. Like as you were describing it, I was just seeing like, wow, I've been really limited in how I'm seeing this, and you really opened up my thought process a lot. I have another question, but I will let someone else go first.
Thanks.
So,
If there anyone else has any other questions for me, you can kind of like have it in the chat, or you can just kind of unmute yourself and ask me something. And whilst you're doing this, I will just kind of find a link and put it uh, into the chat box. And if you're unmuting yourself, I'm still hearing you. Okay. So. Okay. Otherwise, more if you have your second question, you can ask us. I'm just going to put into the chat the this is a link. If you say, yes, I want to be one of these 10 people and I want you to help me, there is a link to the sales page if you want to check that out, which takes you through some of the information we've done today. So you can just review this, but you know, you can also go back to this in your own time. You'll also get this again in the replay link. And I have another gift for you. I said if you stay till the end, you get your valuable gift. And that valuable gift you get is actually time with me. And that is, considering I normally charge people £500 plus an hour, that's as valuable a gift as I can give you. And that is your opportunity to book yourself in for a free session with me. This is a 30-minute session where we can really look at what exactly is going on in your life and what dating trap has you in its clutches and what can we do to help you shift. So it's like, you know, if you're wondering what it's like to work with me, you want to get a sense of this, then please, I've dropped the link in the chat as well. So this is the TidyCal link where you can literally just put yourself into my calendar and book yourself the 30-minute time slot. And what I can promise you is absolutely it's not a sales call. It's not, you know, it's like if it's right for you, great. But if it's not right for you, it's also great. Ultimately, I have a very small group here, so I want to work with you if it's right for you, and if it's a right fit, and if it's a good fit for this. and if I really believe that, I can make a difference for you. So, all right. Any other questions for you guys? Otherwise, yeah, more. Go ahead.
The question is, I know you're talking in pounds. Do you work with
Mhm.
people in the USA, or
Yeah,
do you work with clients in?
anywhere. So the group calls is the course is going to be delivered live delivery. So that's going to be Mondays and Fridays is content drop day, and that's 8 p.m. GMT, which is the same time we started today, which I think is 3 p.m. Eastern and noon Pacific. So I kind of made it a time that could work for everybody, but there's replay. And on Wednesdays is the live coaching calls, which is where that's the call you really need to be on live. You can ask your questions with the, it's nice to be there live with the content drop things because you can ask your questions, but it's the laser coaching where you can also ask any questions you have and where you can really get that one-on-one support. That's like invaluable. And I'd highly recommend you are at those calls. If you can't be there, you can send your questions or your concern or your situation in as an email beforehand, and I will then get to it in that order. Like whoever is there live gets priority, and whoever sends an email in gets that too. So, and absolutely, I just had to choose a currency, and I am in the UK. My bank account is in the UK. So therefore I put it in pounds, but sure, it's I think it's about $2,700, something like this. So yeah, absolutely happy to take whatever. Stripe will convert it. Very happily to do that.
Okay, great. So that was a bonus question. My real question is, how can you tell the difference between a horse and a fish? What if I think he's a horse and I don't know if he's a horse that could grow wings? And and also, is jealousy something that people could become a horse with? Maybe I'll save
Well,
that
that's
30 minutes with you.
That's an interesting question. Okay, so this is a great question, and it's like, how do you tell the difference between a fish and a horse? Because it's not as obvious as it sounds, right? And the short answer for it is actually you look at behavior. You look at how, what are they bringing to you consistently every day, and time is the great revealer. So you often I don't know who it was, but it was a quote that was on some Oprah Winfrey show. It's like, when people tell you who they are, believe them. So often it's like people will show us early on, like, through how they are with us, what we can expect. And we just make excuses. And we say, oh, he didn't mean this, or yeah, oh, he's too busy, or he's too this, or he's too that. But whatever you accept is what you get, is what you would then have to live with. So if you just actually, what I found with this dating like a goddess, it's you fairly ruthless in the early stages. When it comes to weeding out the initial people, it's like, someone didn't contact me within 3 days, they're gone. Right? So that sounds pretty harsh, but I do know that ultimately I want a man who steps up, who makes an effort, who is wanting to connect with me, who is investing in me. So if a man goes 3 days without contacting me, he's not that man. And so by being super clear who you are looking for, it's also, if you always have to reach out and they give you like half answers or whatever it is, like once you know who you're looking for, and that's what you learn in module 1, you really learn like, who is this guy and where am I going to find him? Who is this guy I need? And then like you actually have something to compare it to, and you see, well, this is actually what my Pegasus is. And then you check, is this guy that is in front of me right now, does he have this, this, and this? And we're not talking about he's 6'2" and he's blonde, or he's this or he's the other. We're talking about real aspects of who this man is in his personality, and can he partner you? Can he partner the parts of you that are crucial, that need to be partnered for you to be in a good relationship? And once you know what this partner looks like, then actually you have an idea of what your Pegasus is, and you can see what is not. And you literally don't give people too many chances too early on. We get so invested in the possibility, and I do know this because I've gone through this process. So I'm completely prepared for whatever emotional things and reasons you will have as you're going through this process. It's like, oh, but Cassandra, he's so great, and I think he could be the one. I know. I've been there. I absolutely know. And he's wonderful. And maybe he's Italian and he's super well educated and he's into Tantra and he's conscious. And he's done this and he's done that. Great. He doesn't contact you for 3 days and he's not had like a bereavement or his dog died. It's just like not going to work. Doesn't matter who he could be. The question is who he is right now with you. I don't care who he could be. I care who he is and who he is showing to me every day. That's how you know if he's a Pegasus or not. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
You don't like the answer, but it's true.
I still need 30 minutes with you one-on-one. So I already clicked the link. Be ready. I'm coming.
I'm ready for you. No problem. Hi, Vesna. Yeah, and you can mute yourself.
Hi, Cassandra. So thank you for amazing sharing those data. That was really valuable. So for me, especially because, you know, I found myself in 2 traps. The first one for sure, this is scarcity, because there are no enough good guys. So you cannot change that belief for me because I see them. There is very few of them. That's why I wrote that there is only 0.01% if I am lucky. Okay, out of joke. The other one, this is not joke, this is serious, because with most of people who I meet, they are not interesting for me to drink coffee and not to go dating or something like that. So yeah, that leads me to trap number 5, 4, doesn't matter. This is time,
yeah,
because
waiting.
When I find somebody who is elementary interesting for me, then I give him a time to, you know, perform a little bit better way, and usually they don't perform in better way, so I just kick them away. So this is how my relationships almost always ending. So what I want to ask you is actually about pragmatical approach. I'm sorry, I'm pretty tired now, so maybe I speak a little bit slowly. How that works how much time your course takes from us on daily or weekly basis, or because if I'm in rush, as I am currently, I would like to know, is it possible to split activities of, for example, 15 minutes per day, or maybe half day per week, or just a little bit more about this kind of things, if you can share.
Absolutely, yeah, sure. So you can kind of like pace it as you want. So it's like if you want to be on the live calls, they're like an hour to an hour and a half, 3 times a week. So that's Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. But I also will be recording some things as videos so that you can then kind of like, and they will be released also on Mondays and Fridays. You can access the replays when you want. The only thing you really, it'd be good to be at is that you have watched like the training, you know, that we're talking about. You know, when you have the Q&As on the Wednesday, it's nice if you watch the first part of the training, the Monday training by then, so you can ask questions about that. So it's just like for your own benefit, but otherwise you can kind of make it quite flexible. Now, the part where you need to develop, where you need to dedicate the most amount of time is for the last aspect, for the last 30, you know, for the last kind of 30 days, because that's where you're really going to go out there dating. And if you're a bit crazy like me, you're going to do 30 dates in 30 days. Now, it means you're going to have to allocate, like, let's say 3 hours a day for these dates, plus a little bit of your prep time, your journaling afterwards, you're kind of going through the process, what you learn from different things. So that's kind of the most intense thing to do. But it can be, it doesn't have to be like a coffee date. It could be like an online date. It could be, you know, going to a speed dating, even if it's a virtual one. Like it's about dating like that. But that's the most time consuming part. You can go all in with 30 dates in 30 days, or you can just do 2 to 3 dates a week. But that's the minimum that I would ask for. Yeah.
Okay. So it
and
means...
with the scarcity, just the question you didn't ask, however, which came from your sharing, that I just want to talk about for a second. One thing you also learn is when you're looking for the fully formed article, like the guy who already has it all together, you are right, there's not a lot of them out there. And that's because, like, I call those guys kings. There's not a lot of those guys out there because you know, we don't have processes that make them. You know, like boys get birthed by mothers, and then normally a boy is taken through a process of initiation to become a man, to become a king, as he learns to take responsibility for something beyond himself. And in like 200-300 years ago, or in some indigenous cultures still today, these boys were taken on a journey to prove themselves, and they then became men. Right? That's not existing anymore. So that's why we have this overabundance of boys, and we don't have a lot of those kings out there.
Correct.
So part of this, therefore, the concept that's really cool to break through the scarcity is what I'm teaching you to find is what I call aspiring kings or knights. These are guys who don't necessarily look like a king, but they have the potential of a king, and they are actualizing it already. All they need from you is to give them the space to be a king, to give them the invitation, and to receive from them so that they can grow into the space for you, with you. So that's how to spot those, because all of us can spot a king. There's not that many of them out there, but what I want to teach you is how to find a soulmate-worthy man.
How that match idea that we are fall in love with potential, and that it will take time, which means that we need to give him time to develop from prince to king.
Yeah, well, it depends though, doesn't it? Because the question is, it's about finding a man who has what you need and who's willing to do what it takes to develop it. And then you have to watch,
all about,
does he do it at the speed?
It's all about, does he take actions or not, correct?
Yes. Does he take action, and does he develop what you need quickly enough for you? Like, I'm not very patient, so I couldn't give some guy like a year, 2 years at this point in my life. So therefore the question is, you know, how do you actually, it's about also learning, how do you empower a man to bring you his best? How do you empower a man to actually even be able to step into his king energy? And that's really what I've been doing for a living for the last 16 years, is how to help men to step into their king energy through one-on-one relating. And that's everyday guys. So it's totally possible. And that's some of the things I will share with you as well in the process, is how can you take, you know, a man who has what you want. So you want to find a horse. You might not find a Pegasus, but we want to teach you how to find a horse, and then teach you how to help this horse find his wings. That's kind of what we're looking for. And it doesn't mean you can't find your king, absolutely, but you might have to wait a little bit longer for a king. So I want to give you all the chances and all the tools and knowledge to proactively get you in the driver's seat, so you don't have to wait. And you know, that's often, there's many more people out there who are aspiring kings or knights than there are fully formed kings out there.
And I'm curious if we feel comfortable about going on all those datings, because we are, for example, introverts or just dislike to be too much with people. Do you do kind of fixing us to getting us ready for that job?
Interesting, isn't it? It's about, what I will help you do is find a way that works for you. So there's no fixing. Like, if you're an introvert, that's beautiful. And I mean, I'm a very extroverted person, but my beloved is very introverted, for example, right? Is more of an introvert. And so, and that's gorgeous. And it actually works very well together. And, you know, it's beautiful. So whatever it is, wherever you are is perfect, you know, and we're perfect as we are, and we're growing. But it's also helping you to find your way of, like, how can dating be enjoyable for you? So if you're an introvert, maybe I wouldn't send you on a stage in a big room where you just have to like speak to like 300 people. Like, that's not where I would send you, right? Like, we would actually, you know, maybe we would have a little chat in the laser coaching, and we would actually like brainstorm, where's the best place for you, who you are, what you're interested in, you know, what kind of guy you're looking for, where should you go to find him, and where are you going to feel comfortable, and where are you going to be able to shine so that you're going to be at your best. So that's then
you can promise that it could be enjoyable for every of us freaks.
I believe this. I'm a freak. I mean, dude, absolutely. So I believe it's possible as long as you're willing to kind of hold exactly. Thank you. As long as Pegasus all the way, unicorn. But it's it's so funny. It's if you're willing to be curious and playful and you're willing to try different things, we're going to find something in a way where it's going to be enjoyable. Like, at least it's going to be easy. It's not going to be hard, and it's going to be something that's working for you. And I think it's enjoyable if you are in a situation, in a place where it's working and you're starting to find some of the right guys and you're noticing they're bringing their best to you and you're starting to see light at the end of the tunnel. I think that's fun.
So how we crystallize that on this call, one-on-one, 30 minutes, then we speak and crystallize the way, correct?
So you can, I mean, the 30-minute call, if you want to book yourself into this, my gift to you, it's like you bring whatever you bring. Like you bring whatever is your biggest challenge in dating, and what are you looking for, and do that. But let's say you did sign up for the course, then you get a chance to speak to me on the laser coaching every Wednesday for those 13 weeks, and whatever is up for you, whether it's writing your profile or which place should I go to, or what do you think about my dating profile or my headlines, or who am I looking for, like whatever it is that's up for you, I'm going to be here to help you kind of move through that and work through that. So that's the idea behind it, so that you have that high touch. And it's to get my eye on you at that level you would never ever find at this price point. It's not done. You're literally getting, I only take 10 women for this first intake, and it's because I'd like to really work with you, take your input about the process and about the program, make it even better, and then I will turn it into recorded videos with much less support, much less Q&A, and that's kind of where it's going to be going. So to get me this much at this price point is never going to happen again. So sure. It's more like, because hey, I found my soulmate. I think it's a great process. I don't want women to struggle if they don't want to. So yeah, hey, I'd really like to share this. So hey, why don't you join me? It's a bit like that. All right, ladies, thank you so much for your time. So you've got the link in there to book your free session. You've got the link there to check out the sales page if you want to. And I will be sending an email out with the replay link and some of the information over the next couple of days. And you'll get a little bit more. Thanks, Mara. Lovely. I'm looking forward to seeing you there. And so you'll get the links there as well. And you can get yourself in there for the next week. Ideally, I've put quite a lot of time aside over the next week to really attend to these one-on-one calls, because I think they can really make a big difference and bring you a breakthrough in your relationships. So just thank you again for your attention. I hope you found this really useful, and it's kind of opened your eyes a little bit towards what's possible with dating. And maybe we've answered some of the questions, like why is an amazing woman like you still single, and how can we make sure that it doesn't stay that way? Like, what can we do about it? How can we make sure love finds you ASAP? All right. Thank you so much for joining me. And yeah, I'd love to see you on the other side. And I hope, wherever you are prioritizing self-care, and just know that you deserve so much more than likely you are even thinking about. And practicing self-care and knowing your own worth, now that's how you date like a goddess. And yeah, I hope to see you again soon. Much love. Bye-bye.